All right, let's get this started. Welcome, everybody, to Intiva's webinar for August 2025. I'll be your host again, Ted Brown, Director of IT Architecture here at Intiva. And today we're going to be talking about Microsoft 365 Copilot new tips and tricks. Picture this. You're logged in on Monday morning, expecting your usual digital routine, only to be greeted with a team of ultra smart AI specialists eager to tackle your toughest challenge. Suddenly, your everyday work transforms into a playground of possibilities. Data analysis, research, strategy, creative tasks no longer are bottlenecks, but doors swing open to new opportunities. What if the boundaries of your productivity could be shattered with entire projects conquered in hours instead of weeks, powered by intelligent agents who think, learn, adapt just for you? With Microsoft 365 Copilot, it is no longer simply an assistant. It has become your backstage pass to a new era of workplace magic. In the past 6 months, Copilot has unveiled breakthroughs that feel straight out of science fiction, reasoning agents that work like expert teammates, advanced tool searches that slice through information overload, and creative features that spark innovation at every turn. Let's get ready to meet your future. Discover the secrets behind Copilot supercharged upgrades and unlock practical tips that will change their way you work forever. All right. So, as I mentioned, we're going to get into some nice tips and tricks that have come out recently, about in the last 6 or so months with Copilot. Namely, we're going to get into the researcher agent down to the analyst agent, do a little bit of demo of how they both work, and then cover Copilot Notebooks, Copilot Power Search, which I love, and then the Copilot Creator. All right, first up, Microsoft 365 Copilot's recent update is the addition of two new AI super assistants, Researcher and Analyst. These are not your average chatbots. They're specialized regional agents that are designed to tackle tough multi-step tasks with level thoroughness and skill akin to experts in the field. They operate within Copilot's experience, accessible via the Copilot app or Teams or Windows, which I'll show in a little bit of a demo, and can be launched as needed for big tasks. First up, let's take a closer look at Researcher. Have you ever wished you had a personal researcher assistant to do all the legwork with you while you focus on decisions? Researcher is exactly that. It combines OpenAI's deep research AI model with Microsoft 365 orchestration and search, enabling it to analyze vast amounts of information from both your enterprise data and the web securely and compliantly. In plain terms, Researcher will search and read through your internal emails, files, chats, documents, meeting transcripts, etc., and across reputable web sources. These synthesize everything into a coherent report complete with citations for traceability. So, what can a researcher do? Think of tasks like deep dive reports. For example, compiling analyst and competitor reports. For example, you can ask research current electric vehicle market trends and how our company's portfolio fits in. The researcher will simultaneously parse through your internal sales data and external industry reports like Gartner or news sites to produce a detailed analysis. It might identify patterns or white space opportunities, gaps in the market, and highlight them for you. You can also do this for strategy and memos and plans. Need a go-to market strategy draft or a client QBR summary? Provide a prompt and research will gather the relevant project documents, past meeting notes, and the latest market facts to build a comprehensive strategy document. It even considers your organization's context. For instance, if you mention a project code name, it knows to pull the internal information on that project thanks to integration to your company's knowledge graph within Microsoft 365. You can also use it to prepare for a big meeting. Ask something like, help me prepare for my customer's meeting next week. Researcher can pull your upcoming meeting list, retrieve your recent emails with a client, retrieve OneNote pages if you share anything in there, maybe have connected into your CRM data to connect the agent to it, like Salesforce or Sales Agent, to brief the information within the client. It's like an AI chief of staff ensuring you walk into the meeting well armed with the appropriate knowledge. Now, one of the benefits I enjoy most about using a researcher is during its process. You can actually see the researcher's progress in real time. For instance, if you're in Copilot interface, you might see it listing which files or emails it's looking through. If it has like a document library where you're putting it through, you'll see the exact path that it's searching through. This is giving you transparency to its chain of thought. It may take a few minutes to complete these complex asks, but it's saving you hours, if potentially not days, of the effort by reading through and summarizing all that information. And when done, you get a nicely formatted draft with sections, insights, even sources cited for reference, which I'll show you a little bit here in a demo. For example, let's say you request site Q4 performance versus industry trends from a report from my product, XYZ. Researcher might ask you any specific industries or competitors to focus on to clarify the scope and help ground the information. Once you answer it, it will pull the internal Q4 sales figures from the product, either maybe in Excel or Power BI, wherever that data might be, then gather the industry trend data from trusted analysts on the web. It could discover that a particular feature from your product that drove growth, so it pivots to research more on that one feature, looking into customer feedback in Teams chats or competitor offering in the news. And after a couple of iterations, it assembles a report that highlights how the product performed, cites internal sales numbers and external market stats, and concludes with something like your product emerged as a competitive differentiator in Q4, contributing to X% of sales and insights backed by both internal data as well as industry reports. You didn't even have to lift a finger for digging for this. It had the information available to you at the tip of your fingertips just by asking a researcher. Now, let's get into some of the key capabilities of Researcher. First up, it's a multi-source information gathering that searches across your internal SharePoint, OneDrive, emails, Teams, and external web sources to collect all the data. It even collects potentially from third-party systems, Salesforce, ServiceNow, Confluence, if you've set it up in the Microsoft Graph connectors to retrieve that information. It also does smart summarization and insights finding, which digests the findings and summarizes it in clear language, highlighting trends or key points instead of dumping raw data. It uses AI reasoning to draw conclusions and connections, for example, spotting emerging patterns for even your customer feedback or market reports that you might have missed. It also has interactive QA refinement, which is very nice. If your request is broad, research will ask you clarifying questions to zero in on what you need. You can even guide it to what you would like. You would like a real team member. You could guide it almost like a real team member. This is a back and forth that ensures the end result matches your expectations in the content and format that you would like best. The other piece that is, again, what you mentioned before, is the citations and provides transparency. The output includes citations or references, so the information that is used, you can validate and make sure that you can trust what's there. You can go through and see how it came up with the information and then validate it on your own, so you're not just copying and pasting this information. You can go in there and validate that this information is correct, so you can be concrete in these answers and understand that it is accurate when you present it to your team. And ultimately, this is time saving. Research is great for any scenario where you need to do quick learning or compile knowledge without having to manually search through tons of sources. It's like an AI librarian plus an analyst that gives you just the information you need. From market entry reports to client risk assessments, it can deliver it in minutes what could take a day potentially to gather, with the potential for greater and higher accuracy than a human could put through. Next up, numbers, spreadsheets, databases. Beware, Analyst is here to turn data chaos into actionable insights. This new agent acts like a virtual data scientist embedded into Copilot. If researcher is your research guru, Analyst is your quantitative wizard built to analyze data deeply and methodically. So, what can analysts do? Whenever you have raw data that needs understanding, trend summarization, Analyst agent steps in. First up is the advanced data analysis. Give it a messy Excel worksheet, which is great, and a CSV, or even a point to a database or a Power BI data set, and ask a question like, what are key insights from my Q4 sales data? The analyst will ingest the data from multiple sources that it can handle, again, CSV, SQL database, Power BI reports, etc., and compile the needed information. Crucially, it doesn't require the data to be pristine. It can do all the cleanup on the fly. It can fix delivery issues, handle missing entries. It potentially might not even have actual column headers across the top to kind of figure that out, so you don't waste your time prepping the data beforehand. It's also iterative problem solving, which is fun to watch. The analyst approaches your question like a true analyst, breaking it down to sub problems and tackling them one by one. For example, when you ask, why did some of my sales team underperform Q4? It might first calculate the overall sales by region, identify a region with a lower sales, Then investigate contributing factors in that region, maybe inventory, market data, etc., and correlate those to performance. It takes multiple steps as needed and many steps required, making sure to hypothesize first, then checking the data, refine, and even recovering from potential errors until it arrives at a well-founded answer. This chain of thought method means that the results are more nuanced as well as importantly accurate than taking one-shot guesses. The other part that I really find fun is watching the on-the-fly coding. And it's a showstopper, but I mean that in the best possible way. Analysts can write and execute codes in Python behind the scenes to perform calculations and transform the data as part of the analysis. If a computation or visualization is needed, it'll generate the Python script automatically. What's even cooler is you get to see the code in real time as it runs and iterates. This means you have full transparency into how it's calculating and analyzing the data. It's no magic tricks. It's just calculating an average, running a regression, and you can see the code in math. You effectively have a data analyst who can code working with you instantly. And yes, it's all sandbox and safe within the Copilot environment. And lastly, it does insights and visualizations. The analyst doesn't just hand you numbers, it delivers a narrative. It will output plain language explanation of the data and what it means. Example, the sales team alpha grew by 20% or outpaced by 5% while the white beta team dropped. And it often provides charts and graphs to illustrate key points. For instance, it might generate a bar chart for a region, revenue by region, if it helps explain the trend, or a line graph of monthly sales to highlight that seasonality. It also is done in part where I've actually put in a whole bunch of information that had a whole bunch of different words to kind of correlate and put together of how they, how can they actually structurally mean together, and did a nice little word chart all together with a nice visual representation. It was fabulous. This really allows, if you have the need to then copy this into a different program to do an overall report, it's right there waiting for you. Now, these new agents are available in Microsoft Copilot 365 with the appropriate licensing and appear in Copilot's App Store or the Agent Store or on the sidebar. I'll go through a little bit how to find it. It is in Microsoft Teams or the standalone Copilot app, which is where I like to use it the most, and you'll find it in the section called Agents. Research and analysts are listed in built by Microsoft agents. You might need to click to find to get agents or pin them the first time, but once you get them there, they'll be available for you to use whenever you need. So let's go ahead and get into a little bit of a demo. All right. As I mentioned, you access this through Microsoft Copilot and Teams. I'm going to do my demo within Copilot because I personally like utilizing this the best. I find it more of a richer interface and allows for a little bit more versatility. So you can access this page by going to multiple places. Portal from portal.office.com has always been the one I like to go to. It usually pops up. And when you access it, it will bring you right to the Microsoft Copilot page. They're really kind of forcing this into being your one-stop hub to utilizing Microsoft. As you can see here on the left-hand side, I have my apps, which you might have used before to go through all your different apps. You can pin them in here so you can make this kind of your home screen if you wanted to. You can click on your Teams, your Loop, your OneDrive, Outlook, so you have all the web-based applications available to you right there. But let's get into Copilot and all the cool tricks. So on the left-hand side here, you'll see at the top, you got search, you got chat, you have agents. This is where your agents will live. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on agents. If there's nothing listed in here, because mine are actually in here, you can go ahead and explore agents. I have mine pinned, that's why they're up here, but built by Microsoft, like I mentioned, right here, researcher, analyst. Again, this will only be in here if you have Microsoft 365 Copilot licenses, but once you enable it, these will be here right for you. I recommend once you get them in here, go ahead and pin them. It says unpin because I have them there. That way they're always at the top. So first up, researcher. So let me go ahead and check it. Now, utilizing researcher, it does take some time to make those things come through. So in the essence of time in this webinar, I'm not going to have to go through everything. I'll show you some of my historical actions I've used within the researcher to kind of show you how it works. So first up, I'm going to come in here and go to an example. So I have a document here that put together a kind of an explanation of utilizing e-bikes, a new product we want to launch, and going through all the specifications of the e-bike. And so I have here a Word document that I uploaded into the system and says, how does our e-bike compare to others in the market based on the industry and how would it be best to provide a campaign to drive more sales. Once I put it in there, research came back and asked more clarifying questions to help ground it and make sure it provided the right information back to me. As you can see here, it says, I want to understand more about how your e-bikes compare to others in the market. To make sure I understand your request, are you looking for a detailed comparison? Do you have any specific competitors or market segment? What kind of campaign you want to do, digital marketing in person, etc. If you'd like me to proceed, tell me to go ahead and I'll make my best judgment. So when utilizing this, you can either add more to ground it, refine it, or if you want to say go for it and see what it comes out, it's not going to hurt. For this instance, I said, hey, mid-market for bikes that are over $500 anywhere in the United States, and limiting the scope. And I want to do a digital marketing strategy analysis, please. And so once I put that in there, it starts working. And as I mentioned before, during the information about how this looks at being transparent, in here it has about the actions that's occurring. You can watch this as it goes through. So I'm going to expand this, and you can see all the information this went through to gather what the report is. So you can see here, it clarified the answers. Now it's identifying the user task. It's finding information. It made its guess about what mid-market might mean. So if you see in here, maybe the information is not correct, maybe I want a higher dollar value, I can go ahead and refine this answer and make sure it gets higher bike values or whatever might be important to you, whatever you're trying to do your research on. And as you can see here, it does a whole bunch of information, exploring external information, taking a look at rad runners too. Here's a price that's similar. So just doing all this research on the fly. This whole process took about maybe 5.5 minutes to go through to find it all. So I went off and did my other work, whatever I needed to do, and came back to my agent while I was doing all the fun stuff in the background. Then it came back with a report for me. So very, very detailed, as you can see here, tons of steps that I went through to then produce a report called a mid-market e-bike comparison and digital market strategy. So this is not just a couple information or a couple different you know, paragraphs about this. It gets into some deep analysis about the market itself. So you can see here, it tells you what the global market is, how many e-bikes are in use, 300 million, introduction, and here it cites references. So you can see here that this is not just pulling up any information. I can go here and validate this information. And it's pretty long. You can see here it goes through target audience, market segment, SEO, social media engagement. It really gets into some really high level data here. So, and then it provides all the guidance and all the information here about where it gained this information. Now, what I love about this is I can easily go, okay, great. Let me go bring this into Pages. The last Copilot announcements I went through, I went through the Pages. So if you want to check it out, it's very fascinating. Love utilizing it. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this in Pages. This will bring it up here. And Pages, if you recall, is more like a loop scenario. So it's going to be a little bit like loop. And then once I get in here, I can pick open in Word. So now it's going to take this and open it in Word document so I can manipulate it from there. So I could have copied it if I wanted to, or I can put it into my Pages and then open up in Word. And therefore I can actually add more citations to it, fix it up, make sure the language looks like mine, whatever you want to do. But it gathered all that information for me, saved me a lot of time. I love the Researcher Agent, highly recommend checking it out. One of the things that you might need to be aware of, Microsoft does say that it will potentially limit the use if you utilize it more than 25 times in a month. I haven't had that problem yet. Again, it might be early use because this did get launched in Q2, but they did put that out there that potentially this might be only be able to use 25 times per month per user with a Copilot 365 license. So keep that in mind. I haven't seen that happen, but they did put that out there as a warning. Recommend playing with this. It is a great tool, saves a ton of time. You can find a lot of information. I have fun with it a little bit. I've done a little thing. I was here. I can go back to all conversations. See here. My son's got recently into doing chess, and so here I want to go and find out what are the best ways to open up chess. To find out how to utilize chess, those opening the chest. I had to do a research paper on that to find out what works and works best. It is fascinating to use. You put things in there. I've done a Tolkien history or things along those lines. It's very interesting and I would say highly effective at work. Please give it a try. So that's Researcher. Love it. The next one here is Analyst. And this again is great for large amounts of data. So again, for this one, since it does take a lot of time to go through, I do have one I've already put into place. So similar to the update I did beforehand. This is a document I have in here, which again is the e-bike scenario, which I think I have an example here. So this is the document in Excel. This is a raw data sales figures. This might look similar to something you might have at your company, but this is specific to bikes. So again, tells me what type of bike, where it's sold from, the current price, wheel size, and all the specs related to it. So I went into my analyst. Again, I'm going to not go through it because it does take about 5-10 minutes to actually get the answer. You pop this information here, upload the file. Very simple to make it happen. I'm coming here so I can show you how it worked. Again, this does the transparency like I mentioned before with Researcher. So I'm going to expand this out. So first, I uploaded the file. I said, please provide me the insights on sales trends on how it compared to other e-bikes in the industry. Similar thing I would do with Researcher. So the potential goal is, let me take the research information I had together from that agent. Let me do the insights and analysts from the Excel document, and I would combine them together for a master's report. Simple. From here, you can see it says open the document, checking the content to make sure I understand what's going on. And then it gets into that super cool part I mentioned where it will show you what's going on in the background for the code in Python, coding and execution. I can click on this. It tells you it's Python, and then tells you what it's doing to actually transform the data to help understand it better, inspecting relevant data. And let me go open the sales performance. And so I want to get a little bit more in here into the sales performance. You can see here it went into that part of the code for Python, gets more analyzing prompts, planning. I'm not going to go through each one, but it does iterating, understand what's going on, more code extraction to actually generate the analysis of it. And once I get done, you can see here it goes and goes and goes. I get a summary of what's going on. Here's the summary insights I found from your e-bike from that file. Gives me the total number. That's kind of easy to get. Sales price, etc. Those are pretty standard. But then it gets into some of my standouts. These models show strong market traction and may benefit from increased production and market efforts. Profitable insights, growth opportunities, puts it in there. Next steps, compare, and it went straight into some more information of comparing it to other places in the market. And then it gave me the global market information, your performance versus industry. Didn't really necessarily go exactly into that question, but provided it right here. So I can pop this over to my loop section, my pages, and combine it into a document. Gives me more information here, some key trends, tons of information, which I love. That I can go through here and read it all. And here's some visual dashboards summarizing the key insights from your e-bike sales. So here's some nice charts I can get into to see what makes sense and what I want to use. So would I like to export this to a PowerPoint slide or PDF for your team? And allows the sharing aspect, which is great. So again, recommend playing with this. One of the things I found fascinating with Analyst is, again, it doesn't have to be fully structured data. I threw a whole bunch of information at one time. And let's see if I have it in here. Might not, which I was really fascinated. I should probably find it straight from here. Yeah, I don't have that one yet, but I was really amazed at how it actually found and compared words amongst each other and then pulled out that information. It was really amazing how it did it all together. Let's see if I had that one here, trends. Yeah, right here. Sorry. Pull this one up. There we go. So I have these responses I put into it. It was just an Excel document, it had no header or anything into it. Again, went through all the information, and let's see here. I can find a document. Yeah, so pulled up this information. I said, categorize it. What makes sense to categorize? I didn't even tell you what category to put it. And it came up with its own categories: ticket and error lookup, general queries, help and support requests. And it had this other, almost, what are we saying? Almost 1,200 other. Okay, what am I going to do with other? It's a lot in there. And then from there, I was like, okay, great. Find me the top 50 in the other. It pulled up what those top 50 were. And then I told it just to export the top 500 in those so I can then take a further analysis on myself and pull it out. So I found this really interesting to be able to kind of curate the data, find out what's going on, pull it out, allow me to make my own analysis of that data itself. So again, very handy to use, recommended checking out. If you have Copilot 365, if you have any questions on this or seeing what it can do, just give it a shot. I think you'll find that it's got a lot more usage out of it than you actually might think it has. So agents are the way to go. Please, please give it a try. All right. So that gets into my demo. Got too excited, so I didn't even skip the page. All right, next up. So again, the highlights for me, researcher, agent, but there are some other nice tips and tricks that came out within the last 6 months. The next one is Copilot Notebooks. So I like to think of Copilot Notebooks as an AI enhanced notebook or project binder. This feature lets you gather and organize content relevant to specific tasks or topics into a notebook and then have Copilot work within only that scope. It gives Copilot a curated set of context so it can focus and give you a super tailored answer. Again, grounding you in that information, only find out what's going on within that specific information within that notebook. A notebook can include documents, emails, meeting notes, chat conversation, or any content relevant to your project and subject at hand. For example, if you're working on a project X, you can create a project X notebook and add specific documents and recent document designs or meeting transcripts and some market research PDF and relevant emails. And when you chat with Copilot inside the notebook, its answers can only be based on the content within that notebook, and this does a fantastic job of focusing AI on what matters most to you, especially when you understand that data is 100% correct. So I don't know if you're utilizing Copilot today and you ask to search a SharePoint, and if you had old information in that SharePoint, it might pull out some old information. This way, if you're looking for something specific on that project, you don't want to do any extra web searches, the notebook is a way to go because it will only find the information within that specific notebook itself. And I find this very helpful to bring teams together and everything together in one place. No need to have a separate point for Copilot or different files each time. You can ask questions like summarize these key decisions from a project and what are the outstanding risks, and Copilot will draw only from the notebook materials. It's great for ongoing projects where you can continuously accumulate information, and the notebook acts as memory for that context. It also means you can collaborate. These notebooks are shareable, so team members can contribute content and everyone's Copilot can work off the same knowledge base. Copilot can actually provide an audio summary of the notebook, meaning it could potentially read an outline briefing to you. So imagining being a Copilot on your phone, driving to work, whatever it might be, you're preparing for a meeting, you can actually have it play through Bluetooth speakers, providing you a summary of what's going on that project so you can be prepared when you get to work that day if you want to go down that direction. And utilizing it's relatively easy. I won't go into a big explanation like I did for agent or for analyst, but I'm going to come right back here to my main page within my portal.office.365. Again, it brings you to m365cloud.microsoft, but you have your agents, which I showed before, all your history here. Now you have notebook. I'll click on notebook and I created one for e-bike. So right here, I put my information in e-bike. So whenever I ask any questions, it will only come off these two files. So it won't go to a email potentially I have written about e-bikes that might have nothing to do with this project. It'll only be specified and grounded in this information right here. Oh, and you can see here, get audio overview right at the top. So you can't ask Copilot to do an audio. You just have to click on this button and it will actually go through an overview of what's everything's in the notebook itself. All right, next up. Now, Copilot has a lot to offer, and I'm sad to say this, one of my favorite things to use. Search information at work can be sometimes finding like a needle in a haystack. I don't know how much time I put something together months ago. I know Jim sent it to me and I need it now. Where is it? Going through a whole bunch of information. You can do searches in emails and things like that. The Copilot Power Search, I find, is extremely efficient. It's a new intelligent search experience in my mind that lets you query your organization's data in natural language and get contextual answers back, not just links to files. I like how it's contextual in your question and answers on this. Unlike using standard keyword searches like find me file X, you can ask Copilot questions you'll ask like a colleague. Hey, where's that Q2 budget that John sent to me last week? Show me the latest project's design specs for project XYZ. Copilot will search you and understand what you mean. Shift through all your files, your emails, your teams, your transcripts, meetings, SharePoints, etc., and find what you're looking for. It's connected all through Microsoft Graph, which we talked about a handful of times, and utilizes AI to be contextually aware of what's in each system. So maybe it was looking for bike, and bike might be in a word that has in a document that has nothing to do with what you're asking for, so it won't show you that. It will have some contextual awareness about what you're asking. It can also potentially have broader reach. Maybe you have attached third-party systems, Google Drive, Slack, Jira, if you've actually attached that connector to 365, and it can search across that ecosystem as well. For me, it has intelligent results. These results aren't just raw text dumps. Copilot searches with a new AI reasoning, giving you precise information you need in a contextual search. For example, instead of listing 100 files containing Project X, it might answer the latest Project X designs for this file is right here and stored within the design SharePoint. So it gives you more information about what's going on with that file itself. And utilize it really easy. So let me come back over to my favorite page here, portal.office.com. You have your search at the top, and go ahead and search. You can also search in chat as well. So if you like utilizing chat, you can do it right here. And I'm going to just go, please find me information about e-bike. Now, I'm hoping it does this again. Sometimes you do this searching, asking something in Copilot, it might not find the exact thing you saw before. But you can see here, it's finding 16 emails, subject emails, one transcript. And so it's finding the product information, give me information about it. So again, it's not just a list of files. So it's not, so I don't click on each file, finding out which one is. Give me a little bit of summary about what that file is. So I go, that's not it, or maybe it is. I can come in here, and I thought this was funny as well. I picked up a meeting transcript I had. Again, kind of important when I got back to my notebook. My notebook search, if I went off of that, it would not have found this, but it found a transcript of a meeting I had recently with my dev team. And we had right before the meeting started, we were talking about e-bikes and how fun it is to do that with your family. And it picked up in this transcript. So I can see here, maybe there was some information. I remember I had a talk with Joe about e-bikes, and that's where the meeting started. I can ask that question. Since this understands what that is, it found that meeting. I can go right to that meeting and watch it or read the transcript. Highly powerful. This has saved me a tremendous amount of time. There's so much value out of Copilot. $30 a month to make sure I'm not trying to find some information and spending all this time. I know a creator recreating it. That alone almost makes it worth it alone. So if you're using Copilot today or thinking about it, definitely try this out. It's very effective, very efficient. It's also great because it doesn't matter when you add a Copilot license to your account. So it doesn't go, hey, you only added it in January, so I can only find your information from January. This system will analyze everything in your emails. It will analyze your OneDrive, your SharePoint, not from a time duration. So we'll go back and find the old history of email. It's great for searching email. So if you have an idea what it might be, Joe from something that about one file, it will find it for you and click it and you're good to go. So highly recommend trying that out. All right. Think we're making it around to the end. So the last one I have on my list, and it's something we had talked about before, but they did some more enhancements, is that Copilot has the ability to not only write, but also has the ability to draw. It's the latest update they're utilizing the new GPT-4o, an image to optimize out of GPT-4. This means you can ask Copilot to create image for you right within your workflow. It has a new thing called Create, which is an experience for visualization creation that integrates directly within Copilot. For instance, in Word or PowerPoint, you can have a new prompt within Copilot with something like generate an image of a cyberpunk city skyline or insert a picture of a team brainstorming ideas around a whiteboard in a cartoon style. It's kind of fun to do this within a meeting itself to kind of highlight a superstar within your group with something in the background with a image and logo of Intiva, whatever might make sense to you, and put that together to have it on your presentation. And what's neat is the AI will then produce an image matching what you asked in that description, and then you can refine and then use it potentially in a document. This is similar to the DALL-E or Midjourney if you ever utilize those systems, but it's built within Copilot and are ready to use. And so let me show you that one real quick. It's pretty simple. Again, my favorite page, portal.office.com. As we move on down, you have Create right here. So when you hit Create, again, you can do this in Word or PowerPoint itself, but I like utilizing with this system here. It will come up here and it will have a question. Come on, there you go. Describe your image. So I did put something together on this already. Create an image of a tech webinar presenter giving a presentation about Copilot in the style of a London graffiti artist. And here's my logo. So I went ahead and put this together. It does take a little bit to create, maybe a couple minutes. So we'll go through here, go through its iterations. But I do believe I have the file coming up. Yeah, I'll bring it over for you. So this is what it came up with, which I thought was fantastic. So again, as you can see here, this is something easily I can go ahead and drop into a presentation. At the end of the presentation, it has my logo I had put in there, has my color scheme and everything. If I wanted to iterate on this to make it a more different design, maybe I wanted to have like a different hoodie or something like that, or different color, maybe say, hey, put my logo on the laptop. All is possible from Create, and then I can copy this and put it in there. Again, try it out. It's a great little trick to kind of spice up any presentation you put together. Find it highly valuable. All right. So in just half a year, I would say Microsoft Copilot has evolved drastically. From a single AI assistant, which I did a presentation on about a year ago, which more I felt like as an assistant at the time, like help draft emails, slides. It's really more of a whole ecosystem of AI agents and features that can research, analyze, create, and more. The research and analyst agents put expert level capabilities at your fingertips, turning what used to be tedious work into an automated interactive experience. Alongside Copilot Notebooks, search, memory, and image generation, making Copilot feel like a more personalized, contextual, and versatile more than ever. It's an exciting time, and what's great is all these advancements are generally available to you now as long as you have the license. This isn't sci-fi. This is a toolbox ready for you to take action today. And I recommend adopting these tools, which can significantly boost your productivity and potentially reshape how you approach your work on a daily basis. What I find kind of exciting as well is looking ahead. What you're seeing here is the trend of the AI coworker along with you. It's accelerating. Microsoft's vision, as hinted in their work trend already, is that employees will increasingly delegate routine and potentially more complex tasks to these AI agents, becoming really an AI manager in a sense. We can expect more specialized agents to emerge, maybe a planner agent within for project schedules or a mentor agent within training. Who knows actually what they're come up with next. But as you can see, the Copilot platform is built to grow. It's not static. With third-party and custom agents contributing, your Copilot might soon have an agent for every occasion. So for now, your best move is to embrace these new features in Copilot. Use this guide and this whatever I showed you in this webinar, but please don't stop here. I recommend opening up Copilot and try things for yourself. Whether you're drafting a report, analyzing quarterly numbers, or preparing for a big meeting, remember that you have AI helpers ready to assist. By combining your expertise with Copilot's machine smarts, you can achieve more in less time and maybe have a little fun doing it. Well, I hope you like this webinar. Hope you learned something. Recommend trying the researcher and analyst too, and I look forward to hearing some feedback. Hope you all have a great day, and I'll talk to you next month. Thank you. Bye.